The market buzzed with noise, smoke, and metal. Strange creatures shouted over each other, selling stolen parts, weapons, and things far worse. Under the rusted ceiling of the space bazaar, cages lined the walkways. Most were filled with beasts, criminals or broken slaves. But one cage was different. Inside sat a girl, very small, very still. Her skin was pale blue, and her long silver hair fell around her face like a veil. Golden cuffs wrapped her wrists. A thin chain held her ankles. Her eyes were dull, staring at the floor. She looked like nothing. Too small to work, soft to fight, just a forgotten thing. Two traders sat near her, laughing. No one wants her. One grunted, chewing dried meat. She hasn't spoken in days. Maybe she's broken, the other said, kicking the cage. The girl didn't move. Put her back in cold storage if no one buys her by nightfall, the first said, or better, feed her to the starhounds. They laughed again, across the market. A man walked in. He was tall, human. His face was tired, skin tanned from suns and smoke. A large bag hung on his shoulder, a weapon strapped to his back. He walked like someone who didn't need permission to exist. His name was Cole. He passed by fuel cells, junked drones. Live ammo booths didn't stop once, until he saw the cage. He stopped. The traders saw him and stood, quickly looking for something strong. Human, one said. We've got warriors, fast ones, loyal ones. Cole didn't answer. He stepped closer to the cage, eyes locked on the girl. She looked up for the first time, only for a second. That second was enough. Her eyes were silver, not cold, not scared. Just empty, like she had already died inside. Much? Cole asked, his voice flat. For her, the trader said, laughing. You can have her for half a charger. She's useless. Not paying, Cole said. The laughter stopped. What do you mean? The trader said, squinting. Cole stepped forward. Slow, calm. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small device, and pressed it against the cage. Lock. A soft click. The door swung open. The traders shouted, reached for their weapons. Cole pulled his blade free before they blinked. One fell with a scream. The other froze. I didn't come to bargain, Cole said, pointing the blade at his throat. I came for her. The girl didn't move. Cole turned to her, reached out a hand. She flinched. He didn't speak, just held it there. Slowly she reached. Out to her fingers brushed his. He lifted her gently, wrapping his coat around her thin frame. She didn't cry, didn't speak. He just closed her eyes as he carried her away. Behind them, the market buzzed again, pretending nothing happened. But those who saw it would not forget it. Outside, the wind was sharp. Sand blew across the landing pads. Cole placed the girl inside his ship, laying her on a padded seat. She stared at the ceiling. Name, he said softly. She shook her head. No name, she whispered, voice dry. Then I'll give you one. He said, starting the ship until you want to choose one yourself. He didn't ask why she was in chains. He didn't ask what she was. He didn't ask. If she was dangerous, he just flew. As stars stretched across the window, the girl curled into his coat, and for the first time in a long time, slept without chains. The ship flew quietly through the black sky. Inside, the lights were dim. The engines hummed low like a slow breath. Cole sat in the pilot seat, steering the ship toward a quiet moon he once used as a hideout. He didn't look back, not yet. The girl sat behind him, still wrapped in his coat. Her small frame sank into the seat like she was trying to disappear. Her arms were wrapped around her knees, eyes fixed on nothing. Cole offered her water earlier. She didn't take it. He didn't push. Now he stood up and walked toward her, setting a fresh bowl of soup on the table in front of her. He didn't say a word. She didn't look at him. He turned and walked to the far side of the ship, fixing a loose wire that sparked near the storage hatch. Tools clicked in his hand, but his eyes kept drifting to her reflection in the glass. 10 minutes passed. Then, he heard a soft sound, the clink of a spoon. She was eating, not fast, not greedy. Just careful. Cole said nothing. They landed just after dusk. The moon was cold and covered in trees. An old research shelter stood near a mountain cliff long abandoned. Cole carried a small power core from the ship, hooked it into the shelter's panel, and the lights blinked alive with a slow hum. He turned to her. "You'll be safe here." She stepped inside slowly, eyes scanning everything. Her body stayed near the wall, as if ready to run. "You can sleep on the bed," he said, pointing to the cot near the corner. "I'll take the floor," she replied, her voice quiet but sharp. He didn't argue. She sat down, arms around her knees again. Finally, she asked, "Why did you take me?" He looked up from unpacking supplies. "You were in chains. That's not a reason." He stared at her for a moment, then answered, "It was enough." Her jaw tightened. "I didn't ask you to save me, I know." "Then why?" "Because no one else did." She stood up suddenly, her eyes flashing. "You think you're kind?" she said. "You think you're better than them?" "No," he replied, calm as ever. "I just didn't like the way they treated you." She stepped back, confused. "You don't even know what I am." "I know you were cold, hungry, afraid. That's enough." Her voice shook now. "You don't know what I've done." He set the pack down, stood straight. "Tell me." She looked away. "I can't," she whispered. "Then don't," he said, turning back to his tools. "But you're here now. That's what matters." That night, she didn't sleep. She sat by the window, watching the stars. Her hands shook. Now and then, but she kept them hidden under the blanket. She remembered her cell. The dirt under her nails, the silence of the cage. And now this man, this strange, quiet human who didn't ask her name, who didn't touch her without reason, who gave her food without a deal. It made no sense. She stood slowly and walked to where he was asleep. Sitting against the wall with a half-built scanner in his lap, she sat across from him. "You said I can choose a name." His eyes opened halfway. "Yes. I want one that doesn't sound weak." "All right." He looked at her for a moment, then nodded once. "How about Ara?" She tested the word on her tongue. "Ara. What does it mean?" she asked. "In my world," he said, "it's the name of a wind that cuts through storms. Small, sharp, and no one sees it coming." She nodded, then leaned back against the wall beside him. They sat in silence. For the first time since she left that cage, her heart didn't race. For the first time, she was not alone. Morning came soft and cold. Era sat outside the shelter, her legs crossed, eyes closed. A breeze moved through the trees, brushing against her silver hair. Her hands rested on her knees. She wasn't sleeping. She was listening. Every bird, leaf, every breath. Inside the shelter, Cole cooked something over a tiny flame. It didn't smell good, but it was food. Glanced out the door and watched her. Still, calm, not like a child. Not like a prisoner. It's like someone remembering who she was. He stepped outside, holding a dented metal cup. "You always sit like that in the morning?" he asked. Era didn't open her eyes. "It's how I focus," she said. "We were taught to listen before we speak. Feel before we move. She opened her eyes now. Her voice was quiet. "My people, we don't grow fast, but we grow deep." Cole handed her the drink. She took it without looking. "Thanks," she said. It was the first time she used that word. He didn't say anything, just sat beside her on the log, letting the silence speak. Later, they worked together. Cole showed her how to clean the ship's sensors, how to check fuel levels, how to fix broken panels. Era followed closely. She never asked the same question twice. She moved with sharp hands and clear eyes. She learns fast, Cole said to himself. But then something strange happened. A loose power cell slipped from the shelf. Above, heavy, fast. It fell straight toward Cole's head. Ara didn't think her. Hand snapped forward. The cell stopped mid-air. It floated, stuck in place like time had frozen. Cole turned slowly. Eyes wide, Ara's hand trembled. Her fingers shook. But her eyes didn't blink. She dropped her hand. The cell fell to the floor with a loud thud. She stepped back, breathing hard. Cole didn't move. "You froze it," he said. She shook her head. "No. I bent gravity. It's one of our gifts." Stared at her. "How long have you been able to do that?" "Since I was 5, she said, looking down. "And those traitors," he asked, "did they know?" She nodded. "They tried to use me, train me, sell me, but I stopped listening. They locked me up." Cole rubbed his hand across his jaw. "I should have known you weren't normal." "I'm not," she said, her voice colder now. "I'm dangerous." "They were right." He stepped forward. "You saved me." "I could have killed you," she whispered. "But you didn't," he replied. She looked up. His voice was steady. "You didn't let that thing crush me. You didn't lose control. It means you're not dangerous, you're just scared of yourself." She didn't answer. Instead, she walked outside. Leaving the ship behind, night fell. She stood on a rock above the shelter, staring at the stars. Her hands stretched forward, a leaf floated from the ground to her fingers. Slowly, gently, she smiled behind her. Cole spoke. "If you ever lose control," he said, "I'll still stay. Even if I become something you can't stop," she asked. "Then, I'll stand in front of it," he replied. She turned toward him. "You really are a strange human." He shrugged. "You really are a strange everything." She laughed once, soft and short. It surprised both of them inside. She sat by the firelight. Cole handed her a small metal ring with a stone in the center. "What's this?" she asked. "A tool," he said, "for focus. Fighters on my home planet use it. You spin the stone when your hands shake." She slipped it on. It fit. "I don't shake when I'm scared." She said, "I know." He replied, "You shake when you're trying to hold back." She looked at him. No one had ever said that before. She didn't speak the rest of the night, but she wore the ring until sleep took her. It began with a strange signal. Cole saw it first, a flicker on the long-range scanner. Ship passing too close, too slow, as if watching. No message, no ID. Just drifting. Then it vanished. He said nothing to Ara, but that night he cleaned his rifle twice. 3 days later, the sky cracked open. A heavy freighter pushed through the clouds, black, wide-winged, marked with yellow flame lines across its hull. Knew that paint. So did Ara. She stood at the shelter door, her eyes locked on the ship above. "It's them," she said quietly. He nodded. "You sure?" "I remember that engine's sound. I used to dream about it while chained." Cole turned to her. "You want to run?" She looked at him, her silver eyes steady. Double quotes, "No. I want to know why they're here." He walked to the edge of the cliff, scanning the landing zone. The freighter touched down in the open field below. Dust rose, the doors opened. 5 figures stepped out, same faces, same gear, the traitors who once laughed over her, like she was nothing. Now they weren't laughing. They came armed. Cole prepped the perimeter, activated the weak pulse fence, charged the turrets, though they barely held power. Ara sat inside, hands on her knees, thinking hard. "They came for me," she said. "They don't get you," he replied, tightening a belt of ammo. "I should surrender." "No, you'll die if I stay." "I'll die if you go." She looked at him. He wasn't joking. At sunset, the traitors reached the shelter's front. They walked slowly, careful, like hunters testing a trap. One of them stepped forward, the same man who had once fed starhounds in the slave market. Well, he called out, "I see you've been hiding our little package." Cole stepped into view, weapon in hand. "She's not yours," the traitor smirked. "She was, and you broke the deal. It's theft." "She was in chains," Cole replied, voice flat. "She was property. She was alive." A pause. Then the traitor smiled. "Give her back, or we'll take her in this place too." Behind Cole, a small voice replied, "No." Ara walked forward. Barefoot across the dirt, she stood beside Cole, tiny, calm, unshaking. "She belongs to herself now," Cole said. The traitor's eyes narrowed. "You think you can protect her?" "She protects herself." The man laughed. She's just a broken freak. Ara lifted her hand. A wind swept through the trees, sharp and cold. A nearby crate lifted off the ground, hovered, then slammed into the dirt between them. The traders jumped. She spoke again, this time stronger. "Try me." They hesitated, weapons half-raised, fingers twitching. Cole stayed still. He waited for a shot, but none came. Instead, the trader hissed, spit on the ground, and stepped back. "We'll be watching. You can't hide forever." They turned and walked away, back to their ship. But everyone knew this wasn't over. Later, by the fire, Ara stared into the flames. "I should have ended them," she whispered. "No," Cole said, sitting beside her. "You ended their power over you? That was enough. I wanted them to fear me. They already do." She turned to him. "You're not scared?" "I was," he said, "when I first saw you stop that crate. But then I saw your hands were shaking." She looked at her fingers, still now, not shaking. Then he added, "I wasn't scared anymore. Light as a feather, but it felt like something heavy had settled between them. Not fear, something stronger, something real." The traders didn't leave. Their ship stayed hidden behind the ridge for 2 nights, lights off, engines cold. But Cole knew they were watching, waiting, and Ara, she didn't sleep. She sat on the rooftop of the shelter, staring at the stars, like they were whispering something only she could hear. Her hands moved slowly, guiding floating rocks in slow circles above her lap. No effort, no shaking. Cole stood below, checking his weapon in silence. "She's ready," he said to himself. The attack came just before dawn. A blast shook the ground, ripping through the back wall of the shelter. Metal screamed. Heat filled the air. Cole grabbed his rifle and rolled to the side, shouting her name, "Ara." She was already moving, sliding down from the roof like water. Her bare feet hit the ground. Her eyes glowed silver in the dark. 3 traders charged in with shock lances. They aimed for Cole. They never reached him. Ara raised one hand. The lances twisted in the air, spun like paper, then shattered into dust. The men screamed and flew backward, slammed into the trees. Cole turned toward her. She didn't look scared. She looked calm. Another trader came from behind, knife raised. Ara didn't turn. She only flicked 2 fingers behind her. The attacker froze, suspended. Mid-air, limbs locked like a puppet with no strings. Cole's eyes widened. "You said your powers were limited," he called out. Ara replied without turning. "They were. Not anymore." The trader ship began powering up, preparing to escape. Ara walked forward step by step, toward the ridge. The last 2 men saw her and fired blasters, quick shots. Aimed for her chest. She didn't stop. The blasts curved in midair, bent away from her like they were afraid to hit. The traders froze. She raised both hands. Now the earth shook. Their ship lifted not by engines but by force. It rose 10 feet above the ground, then hung there like a toy. Ara's eyes glowed brighter. Her hair lifted around her face like silver flame. "You laughed when I begged for water," she said. "You kicked me when I couldn't stand. You locked me in darkness." Now her voice dropped, soft, sharp, final. "Now beg." The ship groaned, then slammed back down. Gate, cacked. The cockpit crushed inward. No one inside moved again. Cole ran toward her, breathing hard. He saw her standing in the smoke, alone, untouched. He reached out, gently. She didn't flinch. He whispered, "Ara." She turned her head slightly, just enough to see his face. "I didn't want to become this," she said, "but you gave me a reason. Not to become worse." He lowered his hand. "You didn't kill them all," he said. She nodded, "Only the ones who hurt others." He stepped beside her, placing his hand on her shoulder. "I knew you weren't harmless," said, smiling faintly, "but I didn't know you were a storm." Ara looked at the wreckage, her face unreadable. "I'm not a storm," she said. "I'm the eye in the middle of it." Later that night, Cole sat fixing a melted turret. Ara joined him, holding a toolkit. "You really want me to help fix the mess I made?" she asked. He shrugged. You made a choice? You didn't destroy everything that matters. She sat down beside him. I never fought for someone else before, she admitted. You didn't just fight for me, he said. You fought for yourself. She looked at her hands, no longer shaking, then smiled. Just once, but it was real. The smoke had cleared. The broken ship lay silent in the valley. The bodies were gone, burned, or buried. But something darker remained in the air. A feeling, heavy. Watching Era stood on the cliff above, arms folded tight, her silver eyes stared. At the horizon where stars blinked like cold eyes, Cole worked below, checking the ship's systems. He moved slower now, not because he was tired, but because he knew. The traitors were dead, but their message had already traveled. Farther than bullets, he wasn't just a soldier anymore. Now he was a marked man. They found the message 2 days. Later, a bounty list pinged on Cole's emergency scanner. His face, his ID, his ship's model, dead or captured, price, 300,000 credits, reason, harboring forbidden species, interference with galactic property laws. Ara read it twice, then crushed the scanner in her hand. You didn't ask for this, she said, shaking. They're hunting you because of me. Cole sat on a crate, arms resting on his knees. I knew this would happen. You should have left me back in that cage, she snapped. I couldn't. Why? Because you looked up. She froze. What? In the market, he said, voice low. You looked up at me. Only for a second, but it was enough. Ada stared at him, chest rising and falling fast. You gave me a name, she said, softer now. You gave me food. You gave me a place. And now they're going to kill you for it. Gave all that because it was right. She turned away, fists clenched. I'm not worth your life. You don't get to decide that. That night, she walked out alone. She stood by the wreckage of the last fight, wind tugging at her hair. I was raised to obey, she whispered to herself, trained to listen, punished for thinking. She looked at the stars again. But he never told me what to do. A memory came, Cole, holding out his hand in the market. No fear, no demand. Just a hand. She had taken it. Now she had to protect it. When she returned, Cole was cleaning his rifle. I'm not running anymore, she said. He didn't look up, I figured. I'm staying with you, she added. His hands paused. You? Don't have to, I know. She stepped closer. But I want to. He finally looked at her. You sure? I could destroy ships with my mind, she said, smirking slightly. I think I can handle being your mechanic. He laughed, really laughed this time. You're not just a weapon, he said. You're more than what they made you. Nodded, I know. You reminded me. The next morning they worked together. She rewired the ship's defenses. He upgraded the shield core. They installed cloaking pulses from salvaged parts. Cole handed her a small device, a cum unit. What's this? She asked. If we get separated, he said, you call me. She looked down at it, then back up. If we get separated, she said, I'll find you before you even call. He smiled. I believe that. Before nightfall, a new message hit the scanner. Not just a bounty, a warning. Elite unit dispatched. Human protector to be eliminated. Subject to be collected. Alive. Era crushed the screen again. I'm done hiding. Cole looked out the window. They'll come in numbers. I'll stand in front of them. You're small, he said. She stepped in front of him. Then let them see how strong small can be. She placed her hand on his chest. His heartbeat was steady, so was hers. And for the first time, they both chose the same fight. The ground shook. Not from footsteps, but from engines.
Everyone.
A destroyer-class vessel broke through the clouds like a mountain with wings, its shadow covering the valley where Cole and Ara had built their quiet life. Inside the shelter, alarms screamed. Lights blinked red. Weapons loaded themselves. This wasn't a warning, it was war. Cole pulled on his gear, clipped ammo to his belt, and opened the secret panel near the floor where Era kept her blades. He paused before touching them. They weren't glowing. Not yet. Outside, the enemy landed fast. Black armor, full-face masks. No badges, no mercy. Elite recovery unit, the kind sent only when silence was the goal. They didn't talk. They didn't aim to capture Cole. They came to erase him. Ara stood at the edge of the cliff, cloak flapping behind her. She looked down at them, as calm as stone. One soldier pointed at her. She didn't move. He fired. The blast hit her mid-chest and vanished. The unit stopped. She stepped forward. Lifting one hand, the cliff beneath her rose with her. So did the trees. The rocks. The ground itself. The earth lifted around her like a throne rising from below. Cole stepped out beside her, rifle in hand. They sent their best, he said. They should have sent their last. Ara replied. Below, the commander of the unit stepped forward. We only want the girl. His voice crackled through the speaker. Ara answered. You think I'm just a girl? She raised both hands, slow, deliberate. The soldiers lifted off the ground. One by one, their weapons pulled from their hands by force they couldn't see. The commander shouted, She's unstable, No Cole said, voice loud and clear. She's focused. The soldiers fell, hard to ran. Ara didn't chase them. She turned to the commander. Tell them, she said, voice like thunder. Tell the galaxy. I am not for sale. I am not to be claimed. I am not afraid. The commander reached for his wrist. Beacon. Ara blinked. The beacon exploded in his hand. He dropped to his knees. Then silence. Not one soldier remained standing. Not one dared to raise their head. After the battle, Cole sat on the steps of the shelter, arm bleeding, but smiling. Ara walked over, her eyes dim again, her power asleep. He looked up at her. You saved me again. She sat beside him. I didn't save you. I chose. You. He touched her hand. You scared the galaxy tonight. Good, she said, resting her head on his shoulder. Maybe now they'll finally leave me alone. He laughed. They won't. She closed her eyes. Then I'll keep standing as long as you do. I looked out at the burning wreckage. In the valley below, the world had tried to break her, enslave her, use her. But now she had something stronger than power. She had someone to fight for, and that made her unstoppable. 1 week later, a message echoed through the stars. Unknown source, no traceable code. Just one short sentence repeated across border systems. The girl you laughed at now walks beside a human, and she will never kneel again. The galaxy listened, and for once, it stayed quiet.